Are you struggling financially because you have no recourse to public fund imposed with your leave to remain? Have your financial circumstances changed? If this applies to you, then you may be able to apply for change of condition. So basically, if you've been granted leave to remain or permission to stay in UK on grounds of your family or private life in UK, and you have no recourse to public fund condition imposed on it, then you may be able to apply for this condition to be lifted if you're facing financial hardship. Say, for example, your financial circumstances have changed as a result, or maybe you need to access a public fund because of your child, because of the needs of your child, or you're facing exceptional hardship due to your income and expenditure, or you're facing destitution or imminent destitution, or maybe the welfare of your child. There's issue relating to welfare of your child. That means that you have to have access to public fund. If this applies to you, then you may be able to apply to have this condition removed. Then you may ask, how can you do this? Yes, you may be able to apply to have condition lifted by making an application. So I will talk more about that later. So when we're talking about no recourse to public fund, what does that actually mean? What it means is that you are not allowed to access certain benefit. Not all benefit. You find that most non-contributory benefit you won't be able to get. So your typical universal credit, income-based employment and support allowance, I will go through them much later. You will not be able to get them because they are regarded as non-contributory benefit, but you find that you might be able to get things like contributory benefit, like contribution-based job seekers allowance if applicable, statutory maternity pay if you meet the national insurance and contribution, and that will go through the list later. So there's some of them that you won't get. So the most you won't get is a non-contributory one, like housing benefit, income support, those kind of benefits you wouldn't be able to get. But the ones that like contributory one, like a maternity allowance, you might be able to get if you meet other criteria. But I'm going to go through the list of benefits that are regarded as public funds later, and I'll also attach it on my bio, and you can have a look at that. So basically, so this is what it is. So not having access to public fund, when you hear no recourse to public funds, it basically means that there are certain benefits that you cannot get, and there's some that you might be able to get if you meet other criteria that I've said earlier. So basically that is it. So basically, if your leave to remain is subject to no recourse to public fund, and you're in urgent need of to have access to public fund based on what I've said earlier, or there's issue relating to your child that means that you have to have access to public fund, or you're facing exceptional hardship due to your income and expenditure, or your financial circumstances have changed since the grant of your leave, then you can apply to have the condition lifted. Now, in terms of making this application, you do it online. I'm going to talk more about it later, but with this application, the key thing about this application is to make sure you submit enough evidence. So when we're talking about, like if you're facing a risk of destitution or imminent destitution, the definition of that is that either because you have adequate accommodation but cannot meet other needs, like your living costs, you cannot meet that, or that you do not have adequate accommodation and don't even have any way of obtaining it, or that there's issues, like I've said before, relating to your child welfare, which means you have to have access to public fund. Before going any further, just to say that this video contains information only, and it doesn't represent rather legal advice. So if you're unsure of anything that is raised in this video, or you need legal advice, I'll strongly suggest that you seek one. Now, with that being said, let's continue with our video now. I hope you stick around and watch this video to the end, as you might actually find it useful. So like I mentioned, so if you already have leave to remain with no access to public funds, or you had leave to remain previously, and then on this current permission you were not granted leave to remain, you can actually apply for change of condition. Now, when you do make this application, it's actually key that you submit as much evidence as possible. So really, the onus is on you to provide Home Office with enough evidence to consider lifting the condition of no recourse to public funds. So in terms of what you need to submit is evidence. You would need 6 months bank statement of all your accounts. So if you have 3-4 accounts, you will need to submit it. This includes also children's account, and including accounts that you hardly use, you will need to submit them. So if you have 3 members in a household, you need to submit accounts of all members of the household. So, and the other one will be your pay slip if you're in employment. The 6 months again, pay slip, you submit the P45, P60 that will be needed. The key one here is income and expenditure. Remember, you're saying to Home Office that you're either struggling financially and you need to have access to public funds. So Home Office will need to see your income and expenditure. So basically, you need to do income and expenditure, showing the income you have coming in and all your expenditure. So make sure that you include income and expenditure. Tenancy agreement. So if you're renting, send tenancy agreement. They need utility bills, maybe your gas, electricity, or any other bills that you pay. Make sure you include that with your evidence or documentary evidence. Now, if you're getting any support from your local authority, say the council, if they're supporting you in any way to get a letter, they will need a support letter from them. If you're getting support from any charitable organization, any external agencies, make sure you get a letter, support letter from them. If you're getting support from family, friends, maybe they're helping you in one way or the other financially, do get a letter from them. So, and actually, put in as much, evidence as possible. Your tenancy agreement, I think I mentioned that before. So once you put all your evidence together, in terms of the application form, it's online. So you click the online, filling form online, you click online application form. It would actually ask you to register your email. So you just register, set up an account. Once you set up an account, create a password. Once you've done that, it will then allow you to log in to fill in your form. Filling your form, complete all the form correctly, answering all the questions correctly, and once you finish filling your form, submit it with all your documentary evidence. And if your application is successful, then Home Office, what they will do, they will only change the condition. The no recourse to public fund, that's all they change. They do not change the length of your stay or anything. That doesn't get changed, just the condition of no recourse to public fund. That's the only thing that will be changed. For example, if you were granted permission on a 5-year route settlement, on a 10-year rate to settlement as a parent or partner, that will remain the same. So the only thing that changes is the condition of no recourse to public fund, which will now be changed if your application is successful to recourse to public fund. And then what happens when you make a future application for further leave to remain? It will be reassessed. So basically it doesn't continue, so it will be reassessed again. And if you still meet the criteria and you provide sufficient evidence to show that Home Office should continue to grant you access to public fund, then you'll be granted. So basically that's how it works. You may also be sent a letter to, for your biometric, to enroll your biometric. Home Office may do that. So basically that's it. So basically the key thing with this is just evidence. So basically, if you're already granted leave to remain and with no access to public funds, and you're facing, financial hardship, because of that, or your financial circumstances may have changed or have changed due to any reason, maybe lack of employment, whatever the reason is, then yes, or you're in an urgent need to have access to public fund, or there's issue related to the welfare of your child or children, that means that you need to have access to public fund, then you may be able to make this application. Just fill in the form as accurately as possible, submit it. Now, if you're not confident with using internet, or you need help with doing that, then the Way Out group may be able to help you. So contact them, they may be able to help you. They offer digital services, they may be able to help you with that form filling. Also, Citizen Advice Bureau, so look out for local advice agencies near you. They may offer that help. They might be able to help you to fill in the form. You might also consult immigration practitioner. They may also offer you that service. Yeah, but the key thing is just to make sure that you have ample, supporting documents to actually help your application. And like I've said earlier, if your application is successful, the only thing that gets changed is just that condition of no recourse to public fund that was imposed. That is the only thing that will be changed. Your length of leave remains the same. So I hope you find this video helpful. So basically, if you've stuck around to this point, then that means you found it useful. Consider sharing it to other people. Now, if you want me to actually do a video showing you how to do the form, just say do the form. Just comment and say, form. So just comment and say form, then I'll see what I can do. Thank you for stopping by. See you again. Bye-bye. So yeah, hello back. So basically, I did say that I will be sharing, showing you which benefits that are regarded as public funds. So basically, you also find this list of benefits on gov.uk website. So I'm just going to quickly run through them. So they include universal credit, state pension credit, personal independence payment, attendance allowance, carers allowance, disability living allowance, housing benefit, health in pregnancy grant. So all these benefits that I've read out now, they are regarded as public funds. So if one is subject to no recourse to public fund or their permission, restrict them from having access to public fund, it means they cannot get this benefit that I've read out. So there's other ones that include maternity expenses payment, funeral expenses payment, cold water payment, winter fuel payment, budgeting loan payment. And then if we go on, these ones are benefit administered in Northern Ireland. So they are called short start maternity grant payment, funeral expenses payment, cold water payment, winter fuel payment, budgeting loan payment. So also if you're subject to public funds, no recourse to public funds rather, you are not allowed to get this benefit. So benefits like severe disablement allowance, income-based employment and support allowance, income-based job seekers allowance, income support, child tax credit, and working tax credit, all part of public funds. Other benefits include child benefit, social housing, and homeless assistance. So basically, when we're talking about no recourse to public fund, it also includes social housing. So things like allocation. So these are part of public funds. Council tax and reduction schemes, and a discretionary support payment made in accordance with any regulation under Article 135. Let's carry on. A discretionary payment made by a local authority. So this will be discretionary payment, DHP. So all those ones, and these ones are benefit that are administered in Scotland. So Social Security Scotland benefit, they include child disability benefit, child adult disability payment, carers allowance supplement, Scottish child payment, funeral support payment, job start payment, cold winter heating assistance, winter heating payment, a payment made from welfare fund under the Welfare Fund Scotland Act 2015, carer support payment, pension age disability payment, pension age winter heating payment, Scottish adult disability living allowance. These are all, benefits that are regarded as public fund. Remember, I did mention at the start of the video there's some benefit that, even if you do have, restriction with public funds. So if you have no recourse to public funds, you may still be able to go get those benefits. So these are contributing benefits, which is mainly benefits that are based on your national insurance, so maybe national insurance contribution. So in terms of being eligible for this benefit, it depends on also whether you've paid enough contribution. So if you meet the national insurance contribution condition, you may be able to get this benefit because they are contributing benefits. So you may be able to get them. So they are not considered really public funds. So they include the New Style Job Seekers Allowance, guidance allowance if in receipt of child benefit, New Style Employment and Support Allowance, which is known as ESA, maternity allowance, state pension, statutory sick pay. So basically, statutory sick pay is not considered, a public fund because also based on your contribution. Bereavement support payment, industrial injuries and disablement benefit, statutory parental payment, statutory maternity pay, which is also based on your contribution, statutory paternity pay, statutory adoption pay, statutory shared parental pay, and statutory parental bereavement pay. So basically, these are the list of contributory benefits that are not considered public funds. But then again, you need to meet other criteria. So basically, in terms of the information I provided earlier, there's some benefit. The ones I read earlier, these are considered subject to a public fund, but the ones that are contributory are not classed as public funds. So it does mean that even if you do have restriction to benefit or you have no recourse to public fund, which will lead to you may be able to get this contributing benefit if you if you meet other criteria because they are not considered as public funds for immigration purposes. Do know that it's key that you don't get, or apply for benefits when you are not allowed to, because one, if you do that, then it will put you at a disadvantage because Home Office may curtail your leave, or it could affect your future application if you make an application for further leave treatment, that could affect it. So I hope this video has been useful. Thank you for sticking around. Bye.